Hello. Here we are in our cave/room. It's very small, as we knew it would be. There's a window, it doesn't open. But when we came in, we opened the window and there was a seal flopping around out there that greeted us. Very auspicious. So, animal count 1 seal. Regarding the whole process of getting on the ferry, especially with motorcycles, that was kind of a lot of the point of this that I wanted to make, because I feel like it doesn't really exist. There's not a lot of information in the interwebs, social media out there. So when you show up to Bellingham in the ferry terminal, you first check in. They give you your tickets and a little placard that you can tape on your bike or on your windshield if you have a car. Then you basically get in line and you just wait for like hours. 2 hours I think we were out there for, right? Something like that. Maybe longer. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, hey, motos, go. So we get on the boat, and it was very similar to the Washington ferries, where it's like, kind of guide you down a lane. I thought it was going to be more in line with what I've seen online, where there's just kind of a motorcycle area, I guess, where they're all strapped down together and someone's kind of there helping you. It wasn't the case at all. The guy just found a gap between 2 cars and it's like, go there, nose forward to the bar on the wall and strap them down. You got your own straps, right? Cool. So I thought he just didn't really care about us. He didn't care how we did it. But he cared, and he kept coming back around and kept kind of critiquing us and judging us and no, do it like this. And I mean, English wasn't his second language, but he was actually quite helpful. In the end, he brought us an extra strap and sort of showed us how to do it. We were probably idiots about it.
I felt like we have a very military mindset, and we were like, okay, if there's a way you want us to do it, just give us instruction, and we will follow instruction. And instead, it seemed very laissez-faire until he was dissatisfied with everything that we did. So we just looked like morons. We were like, hey fella, as it turns out, we've never done this before, so perhaps you could just give us instructions from the beginning. It was kind of silly how that went down. We definitely looked like total idiots. But we got both bikes on because they pulled us out of line to put the motos on into this, the little spot that they'd created. We got both bikes on with nobody dropping anything, no issues. We didn't hold it up. So even if we look like idiots to the deckhand, nobody else knows that we're dopes.
Right.
Also, it wasn't a random spot. We are in between. There were cars that are also getting off at Juneau, and then the cars behind us are getting off in Haynes. So it was strategic where they put us. It wasn't such a random gap in between the cars. It was like we're with the Juneau cars right at that break between the two. If you were wondering.
I didn't know that. Okay. Well, there you go. So anyway, then we strap them down, got our bags off, and then you kind of take the elevator up to the floor where you check in. There's a little, office, kiosk kind of thing. So we're in our room, got up to the room, super tiny. The woman that kind of came through the line when we were all lined up with the motorcycles was really warning us. She was like, make sure you hydrate. It's very, very hot on the boat right now. And it's pretty swampy in here. There's no air conditioning.
The window doesn't open.
The window doesn't open. And yeah, she was like, it should get better as you go more north. Maybe. Oh, okay. Anyway.
It will.
I can't complain. So here we are. And so far so good. So we'll see.
So the food on the ferry has been better than it could have been. Maybe not as great as I had hoped. I think we've hit a solid middle sea level. There is fresh fruit and vegetables every day, but not necessarily cooked. Like, they have little bowls of salads, which are good. Little bowls of like greens. They always have some raw vegetables. They always have pears and apples and bananas. So there is like some fresh produce available. And then they always have ready-made sandwiches on white and wheat bread, largely with like deli meats, but they do offer tuna and egg salad as well. I haven't tried the egg salad, but I had a tuna salad sandwich. And then they have like a grill line. So in the morning you can have eggs, potatoes. I think they had waffles, maybe pancakes, stuff like that. And then throughout the day, for lunch and for dinner, there's like the standard things you can order, like a fried halibut sandwich or a hamburger, or they have meals of the day. Largely the meals of the day involve some sort of meat. They're primarily meat entrees. They've had a couple that were not, but that's mostly the case. So I think the only time I've eaten something off of that board was when I had like the chowder. That was just fish, but that's largely been unavailable to me. So if you have dietary restrictions, this is difficult. You won't starve. There are things to eat, but your options are limited, and for multiple days, then they become even more limited. So I would say being a vegetarian isn't awesome, but it's totally doable. Being a vegan would be very difficult, just because you'd be so limited on your selection each time. It would pretty much be the same thing every day. So they've made rice with some of the entrees. You could have the rice. They had egg noodles, which wouldn't really help a vegan. Garlic bread, which was really good, but surely had like a ton of butter on it. So it would be really difficult to be a vegan. You would definitely want to make the effort to supply your own food. Justin and I came on board with some vegetarian backpacking meals that we could boil water in our little kettle and supplement with. So the first night I had a backpacking meal. Since then, we've been eating mostly from the cafeteria, but quite limited, not a huge variety of selection. But because we're on the bikes, we couldn't get a giant cooler and bring food for a week. That wasn't really possible. So your options become a lot more difficult if you have any dietary restrictions, especially if you're not here with a car and with a big cooler.
There's no fridge in the room.
And there's no fridge in the room, so you have to have a cooler. There are ice machines. I think they said they're like coin-operated ice machines in the hallway. We haven't used them because we don't have a cooler, but you have to provide that for yourself. So definitely makes your options a little bit more complicated. And
resupplying Ketchikan.
We did have the ability to get off for a couple of hours in Ketchikan, and there was a little grocery store, a 3-minute walk away from the ferry. It was really great. They had a little coffee shop in there. We had a coffee. Justin got a bunch of great snacks. So that was a really great option if you needed to resupply, or you discovered that there was food you didn't have. Like, that was available, and we took advantage of that. So on the whole, I've in no means am I suffering. I haven't gone hungry. There has been something to eat. It's just not ideal, and I would say it's largely not food that I would choose to eat day after day, other than like, the salads and the fruit.
Hello. We are on our last day on the ferry to Juneau. We were supposed to get into Juneau tonight at basically 8:15, and then the plan was we were going to take another ferry from Juneau to Whittier tomorrow morning, and so it's about it was like 2:30 when this happened. The ferry system, or the announcement, basically said, hey, the boat from Juneau to Whittier is broken, and there's no other boat coming, and so they're trying to work solutions right now. So I don't have all the details, but part of the solution that we're considering is we can take this all the way to Haines, and then we can get off with our motorcycles, basically take an extra, I think, 3 or 4 days and ride through Canada up to Highway 1 in Alaska and down through Anchorage. There's a lot of moving parts in that, as far as like Liz doesn't have her passport, which is in Anchorage, and what is Haines? Is it big? Is there a post office? Like things.
Can we even overnight a passport there? Do we have to wait 3 days to get the mail?
Right. Or can we as Americans even drive through Canada? The other option is to I think the other option is to stay in Juneau and basically pray for another ship. Or they're telling people, they're not telling people. There's rumor that when this happened last time, God forbid, I don't know how often this happens, that people chartered or rented or just purchased space on a barge for their vehicles and then flew up, which, I mean, it's fine for us. We're very flexible. We're on an adventure. We have time. We have weeks to spend on this journey. But there's people that are moving their lives up here. There's a woman with 5 kids, kind of traveling with, I think, her elder parents and multiple dogs and babies, and it's
so many dogs.
So I feel bad for them.
Oh no, I didn't think about the dogs.
Yeah.
So the exciting part for both of us is we were not together when they made the announcement, and I just started laughing and came back and found Justin, and we were both like, oh no, what are we gonna do? But after my initial response of oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? My very next feeling was this is an adventure. We've had such a smooth trip.
Right.
No,
nothing went wrong.
Nothing went wrong. It was all an adventure of our choosing. Everything was within our parameters and went according to our plan. And now the plan's out the window, and this is where the real adventure starts. So we don't have any answers. We don't have any service to find answers. We don't know what we're going to do. We'll probably be uncomfortable. Apparently the road out of Haines is 150 miles of Forest Service road, dirt. So good thing we took that course.
Hey.
Thank you, Steph.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many problems to come. But for one, that's Justin's forte is logisticating. And 2, we really, truly love adventure. So in the middle of the discomfort and maybe fear, I'm also really excited. I think you're excited too.
Yeah, totally. It's gonna be fine. Again, I'm just kind of
It's gonna be fine. Just
I
really
feel guilty about my excitement because there's probably people that are seriously screwed.
There was one guy walking down the hallway just cursing.
Oh. So anyway, hopefully maybe we upload this if if you don't hear from us, then we're probably dead in the Canadian wilderness or out of gas and a grizzly ate us. So nice knowing you.
My parents will not be amused.